You seem to have been getting really into politics recently. Surprisingly.
What? I am been getting into politics.
it's I mean it's also the circumstances, I guess. But it's surprising coming from you.
तो यूएस पॉलिटिक्स की बात कर रहा है क्या?
I think you do not understand properly what the word politics means.
It has something to do with government and the ruling body, right?
I mean, do you think talking about the potential war and stuff that's not politics?
That's politics would be a subset of that conversation.
No, that is what? That is a subset of politics, not the other way around.
Isn't war the whole a conversation topic on its own?
Sure, but that's a political discussion still.
Okay, हाँ, okay. I get that कि उसका politic का term का वो थोड़ा वो हो चुका है, change हो चुका है, जिस form में वो use होता है.
नहीं, it's always been there, Suddu. क्या बोल रहा है तू?
I don't know, man.
I think the confusion comes from you. You've grown up to sort of see the idea of politics as a clash between two parties, and that's how you see the word, I guess. But it is politics, Uddu. Everything is politics. The way you wash your ass is politics.
हाँ, yeah.
Okay. Um. So, Uddu.
हम्म।
What
अभी
have you?
रिसेंटली यहाँ पे काफी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है इंडिया पाकिस्तान के बीच में.
No.
I'm actually not that involved in that story. The only reason I might be little bit involved would be because of my dad. Uh, because जब भी मैं नीचे जाता हूँ और हमारा मेन घर का एरिया है वहाँ पे, जब भी पापा घर पे रहता है तो he always have the news channel on at high volume. And have you ever watched Indian news channels?
They're trash, yes. The
ये तो पर ठीक है, थोड़ा खराब होना एक चीज होता है. वो कंटिन्यूअसली फॉर नो रीजन अपने बैकग्राउंड में न्यूज के सन बजाते रहता है. यू नो दैट अलार्म सायरन व्हिच
yeah.
गोज ऑन टू लाइक सिग्निफाई कि कोई बॉम्बिंग हो रही है एंड वी शुड टेक शेल्टर. तो वो
Hmm.
कंटिन्यूअसली सारे न्यूज चैनल, इंडियन न्यूज चैनल अपने बैकग्राउंड में बजाते रहता है जस्ट टू मेक पीपल पैनिक एंड बी मोर like a blatant clickbait kind of कि
I
हाँ
mean,
people think कुछ एकदम हो रहा है अभी करंटली एकदम हो रहा है वैसा. फिर कंटिन्यूअसली जो एक तो वो होता है बैशिंग होता है, जैसे कि यू नो हाउ इन स्पोर्ट्स कि एक टीम के जो फैंस हो दूसरे टीम के फैंस को बिरेट करते रहता है काइंड ऑफ, एंड इट लाइक इट्स सीन एज अ गुड थिंग इन स्पोर्ट्स राइट कि थोड़ा
it's a
देयर
like
इज अ
that's the purpose of sports, like
हाँ.
the competitive spirit.
Yes, but doing that for like different countries and like putting in a way कि हाँ उस country के सारे लोग are like this और इस country के हम लोग are this, वो that is the most filthy thing to do. And जो सबसे ज्यादा लोगों को influence करता है, अगर अ, वही sector अगर ये काम करेगा तो फिर what is going to happen, you can imagine.
Yeah, it's they like always had this weird tendency to sensationalize stuff, and uh, I don't know how they get away with it. Maybe that is something that will die with the older generation. I don't know.
That's the thing, because they are the main source of information for most people anyway, कि जो यंगर जनरेशन है दे आर हेविली इन्फ्लुएंसिंग देम आल्सो, कि उनके अंदर ही डायरेक्टली हेट भर रहे हैं. एंड ओके, like the people who are practical may wiggle their way out of it, but the people who are gullible, they are going to fall for it, even the younger people.
Yeah,
And
they do.
so, like, I I'm not confident in that idea कि this will die out over time.
Hmm. No, I feel that at least how the, to the extreme it is sensationalized right now. That I think will not anytime soon, but that should be curbed over time as क्योंकि that does feel like a generational thing. Anyway,
Like, even I heard for the US politics also, like they do this thing, right? And I don't know if it is true, but I heard that the more younger generation is also turning out to be conservative. Have you
from what
heard
I
about this?
understand, this is a way some people put it. Ki, okay, the one of the ideas behind conservatism, at least in the US, is that I mean that's capitalism in general, I guess. It's that r- it favors rich people, right? If you are like not taxed proportionally, vagera, that party will do active stuff to help you as a rich person. And what I what a lot of younger people feel who still vote for uh, the conservative party, although it's more complex than that because like of the whole self-help guru Jordan Peterson stuff like that वो एक अलग sector है मगर I think it's also partly because when you're young or in your early 20s maybe when you're maybe you feel that you will be able to get rich. I mean, you have that confidence in yourself that you'll make it, you'll be able to make it.
Okay.
It's a possibility, like just a speculation.
Mm. Anyways, how have you been?
I mean, recently was news curious. I've been pretty consumed by that. Uh, it was sort of a tense situation, and I don't know how it's going. अभी like just आज सुबह कुछ घंटों पहले the latest news has been Donald Trump came out and said उसने दोनों से बात की and they have both agreed to a ceasefire. but, but the thing is that this has Trump has pulled this shit पहले भी उसने सेम चीज रशिया और यूक्रेन के बारे में बोली थी एंड देन अभी recent news ही है, and then Russia, of course, went ahead and still attacked Ukraine.
To be fair, I don't think uh, either of the parties in this conflict have a real reason to attack, like to go on a full on attack in the other country, like other than just keeping face कि हाँ उनने हमारे ऊपर अटैक करा तो हमको we have to retaliate just because did that. Other than that revenge thing, we don't really have a real reason to like do a full
It's
on attack.
not that simple, though. You revenge countries like there is sometimes utility to revenge. I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm not in support of this, but I'm just telling you that there is utility to that attitude sometimes. When the other party is uh, taking advantage of you, you cannot sit there being just altruistic, right? You have to uh, let them know that you cannot be taken advantage. Actually, Veritasium had a very good video about it. You watch every Veritasium video, right?
I
Long.
think I also watched the one you're referring to. Ki there was some game kind of right. Ki you
Yeah,
can either trust the other person or you can assume that he's lying. Yeah, I remember that.
like the
Uh,
whole conclusion of that video was ki, okay, it's good to be forgiving, but at the same time you cannot be too forgiving. You have to let the other party know that there can be and will be consequences. But
no, like the reason I was saying that is because I was trying to imply that I don't think this conflict will uh, escalate into a full on war. That's what I was trying to say.
oh,
Like, okay, there is a conflict, and the whole point of the conflict is revenge, but like, it is not enough of a reason to go on a full blown war, is
you
what I'm
would be
saying.
surprised.
Like, it would be a really bad reason to go on a full war, right? Just because we had a little.
um, I think you need to look at what's going on around the world too. But yeah, I don't know. I do hope that it de-escalates. वरना उद्दू की ड्राफ्टिंग हो गई तो क्या होगा फिर?
Hmm, I don't want to think about it. They have this thing in South Korea, right? That you have to serve
हाँ,
at least 2 years.
या वो कुछ कंट्रीज में होता है नेसेसरी कॉन्स्क्रिप्शन. इंडिया में आज तक आई थिंक कभी ड्राफ्टिंग नहीं हुई. आई गेस हमारी आर्मी इज पहले से इतनी बड़ी, वो मतलब उसमें वॉलेंटरी पार्टिसिपेशन इतना ज़्यादा होता है. um I feel, I don't know, मेरा सर इतना ब्लैंक क्यों फील कर रहा है आज. उद्दू, it's the end of the semester. I'm terrified of the work and I keep pushing it. Although I'm glad to tell you I have been working on making a lot of progress on that Shinchan essay. At this, like I have pretty much gotten the flow. हंस क्या रहा है बे, मार डालूंगा मैं.
No, no, go on.
At this point, I just need to uh, get someone to proofread it. I'll sort of hear some feedback and make some changes based on that. Uh, but yeah, it's pretty much done now. Like when I was writing it, I felt that okay, this was the most difficult part. Now that I'm getting closer to recording, I'm beginning to feel that I'm not gonna like that much either.
I'm excited to hear it.
Sure, sure, buddy.
No, really, really.
uh, how is your job coming along, Uddu?
I guess I have not talked about what happened. Uh, what was the last thing I talked in the last podcast? I guess I only talked about like what happened in the first few days, right? The training period. That was the first week. And
Yeah.
okay, so I will continue on that story. So after 1 week, when my training ended, we had to go to another building, and the TCS campus in
Hmm.
Indore is about 150 acres, 150 or 120 acres big. So like it's
Hmm.
have you been to that Citadel Mall?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about as big as that in area,
Okay.
even bigger actually. Yeah. So the training and development building is on the one end, and the
Hmm.
building we had to sit after our training ended was on the other end. So we had have to walk uh, like about something like 300 meters just to go from one building to another building. And now I want to talk about that particular room which we where we have to sit. So they have a मतलब पूरा एक floor है एक building का which they have dedicated just for the students who are unallocated. And
Yeah, that was something I was curious about. What is that setup like? वहाँ पे like you're yes, like uh wo- like do you just क्योंकि अभी तक मेरे दिमाग में जो इमेज था, you're just sitting on couches in a room.
there are no couches. There are office chairs. You seen those cubicles in uh, movies कि
Yeah,
पूरे ऑफिस थ्रू क्यूबिकल्स होता है सो इमेजिन क्यूबिकल्स है बट विदाउट दैट वॉल तो सिर्फ टेबल्स है लॉन्ग टेबल्स इन अ वेरी बिग हॉल
that
और
sounds more
अबाउट
like a
थ्री
classroom.
नो क्लासरूम they have a particular structure right classroom में कि all benches are facing to the blackboard
Hmm.
right it's
Hmm.
not that structure
Hmm.
इसमें थोड़ा haphazardly मतलब कोई पर्टिकुलर जगह पे फेस नहीं कर रहे सब इधर उधर रैंडमली फेसिंग है
Okay.
जैसे ऑफिसेस में जैसे प्लेस्ड होता है राइट क्यूबिकल्स की कोई क्यूबिकल कोई पर्टिकुलर जगह फेस नहीं कर रहा होता उस टाइप से एवरीवन इज
Just
फेसिंग काइंड ऑफ
empty
ईच अदर
tables.
empty tables right empty tables and office chair and about वहां पे 300 लोग बैठते हैं and it is full I would like to tell you कि वो पूरा भरा रहता है and you have
Is
to
it
look for an
loud?
empty. It's not loud. People don't usually talk loudly in there.
Why?
Uh, it's not a cheerful place. It's a very gloomy place.
I, I imagine that if a bunch of people is sitting around doing nothing in a room, it's
It's
they
no, it's not
gonna
like
start
that.
talking.
I mean, they do talk, but first of all, the particular room is because is there because you can randomly get calls from different projects, and you have to give interview right then and
That
there.
is, that sounds so dystopian. उठाए उठा के ले गए.
Yes, and because there are people giving interview over maybe the call or something, so you don't want to disturb them, right? So you would
Ah,
avoid being loud.
makes sense.
And the thing is, you have to be there for 8 hours, and like in particular, in the office campus, you have to be in 8 hours, but in that particular room of unallocated area, they have at the door they have this thing where you punch your ID card. You have seen those, right?
Yeah,
Like in metros, you punch
yeah,
your
yeah.
card. So your attendance is checked through punching that card, and when you go out, you also have to punch card again. So it records the time you have spent inside that room, and you have to spend more than 7 hours inside that each day, or you would be marked absent, and like your salary
Wait,
for that
हर
day,
घंटे पंच करना होता है?
not every
कितना?
hour, but like in total, you have to stay inside that room for 7 hours every day.
Okay.
And like if you stay there for less than 7 hours, then your salary for that day is cut.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why? What? एक minute. How do they make sure of that?
Why? Because you punch your card, right? At
Uh,
the entry point. So it automatically records your punch in time and your punch out time. And the difference should be 7. Like the total time you spend inside that room,
what if you don't punch out?
you would be marked absent. Like you can't exit without punching out because what
Okay.
door door only
Ah,
unlocks when you punch that card.
that is so messed up. क्योंकि they know that they're just making people sit there for nothing, and
Yeah. And like
I've
we are not allowed to like bring laptops, as I told you before.
I feel that it's like even messed up that they even make you sit in a room like that.
Yeah.
Why would you even call people to offices? अगर तुम्हें किसी इंटरव्यू के लिए लोगों को बुलाना है वहां से एकदम रैंडमली उठाना क्यों है? हम ईमेल कर दो आ जाएंगे
Yeah.
उस दिन.
I don't get it either. It's really messed up. I told you, right? Ki, like in other countries, the businesses sell products, right? कि कुछ कोई phone का company है, कोई laptop की company है, right? I think India का main business लोग है, like literal people, because there are so many of us. They can literally sell their employees कि हाँ खाली बैठा के रखे थे employees, कोई project में इतना जरूरत आई तो उनको draft कर दो वहाँ पे, and they are
आई
always
गेस
available.
उस तरह से भटूरे की भी काफी चांस ऑफ फेट वही हो क्योंकि लाइक वीएफएक्स इंडस्ट्री हैज अ सेम सिमिलर रेपुटेशन राइट. वो अपना सारा काम जो भी वेस्टर्न फिल्म्स बनती है दे आउटसोर्स इट टू कंट्रीज लाइक इंडिया. वीएफएक्स का काम है दे वहाँ पे.
Yeah. And like if you look at the people who are at the top, generally it's Indians only, like in management. They glorify it. Like they see it as they are giving employment to everyone. And like I to an extent it is correct that they are giving an employment, but it is also
I
kind of
I
dehumanizing.
hate it when employers this is something not to sound weird, but this is something I hate about capitalism. The employers feel so righteous about employing people. They, I feel that the relationship should be the opposite of that. They should feel grateful of the people working under them.
Mhm.
But I guess it's because of the abundance of people you can just recruit and they just lose value.
Mm. Yeah, so like it's that dystopian place where I have to sit every day for about 8 hours.
Uddu,
And
did you
uh,
talk to any people?
I told you right that we when I joined there were people with me
Hmm.
in the same uh, on the same joining date, and we were total of 37 students. Not students, I guess anymore. What do we call us? Employees?
Yes. It feels wrong right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I guess 37 quote unquote employees we joined, but 35 of those 37 were of different role, and they have the training for 1 month, which uh, at the beginning I was thinking like, okay, it's a good thing I don't have to sit for a 1 month training, but after being been through that whole process of getting rejected in interviews, which I will get to later, uh, I have started to think that it would have been better if I was given that training of 1 month. So at least I can say that I have that skill set for which the trained us,
Hmm.
because as it happened, my skill set, at least my strong points, did not have a real use in the projects, at least in this company.
Hmm.
So, like, getting back to the point of if I talk to any people, so like because 35 of them had their training being continued for a month, so like they have to sit in another building, which, as I told you, is on the other end of the campus. So, like, we only met up during lunch, and even then, I'm ki- not really a very social person generally. So, like, we only like they ask me about, okay, what interviews did I give, and what did they ask me in the interview. Uh, so that's about it about my connections, I guess.
Hmm.
What what are you smiling about?
फॉर्म भरा तूने
What form?
जो मैंने भेजा था?
Oh, I have not.
कैसा दोस्त है तू?
Mm,
मैंने तुझे फॉर्म की लिंक भेजी है और
mhm.
क्यूआर कोड भेजा है. बनाना लोगों से घर पे अपने काम पे.
Mm. I They are really not more than an what's the word?
इवन
Acquaintance?
बेटर, तू बस जाके उनके मुंह पे क्यूआर कोड मार दे, बोलो स्कैन करो, 3-4 मिनट लगेंगे, फॉर्म भरो, ये चलते चलते.
You know that's a really bad practice to do actually, right? You don't accept QR codes from anybody
What?
like that for cybersecurity reasons.
What the fuck? Uddu. What?
You don't click on links or scan QR code
वो
just from
दिखाता है
anyone.
forms.google, वो दिखाता है, उस पे क्लिक
That
करने
does
से पहले देख
you
लेना.
you can create artificial links like that, which are actually viruses. That it's not that hard.
You cannot create artificial links. You can create links that almost look like
Yeah.
that. But
Yes, yes.
तू वो सब क्यों सोच रहा है? तू क्यूआर कोड स्कैन करा.
I would look like a creep doing that.
ठीक है भाई, मत करा.
Uh, I will see what I can do if
uh,
I say it in professional terms.
fuck you too. um yeah, So I think before you get into talking about the interviews and stuff, maybe we should uh, intercept that with the some films I've watched abhi recently and games I've played. फिल्म्स मैंने इतनी नहीं देखी इस बार. I watched Swingers that I really enjoyed. This is a Japanese film and it's a great feel good film.
What is it about?
It's this bunch of girls that accidentally make the brass band of the school sick, which is supposed to cheer their baseball team. Uh Now they have to take responsibility of that and learn the instruments and play music themselves, and they decide to play jazz because they are relatively small in number. And it's a really nice film. It's optimism से भर देती है.
Oh, oh.
I really like films like that. उसके बाद I was taking a walk in the evening. एक रात को ऐसे ही निकला था मैं. Well, like, like I had been feeling very anxious पिछले दिनों में, and one of the places that I find a lot of solace is a movie theater. I just feel so cozy in a movie theater. It feels nice. So I looked up what films were playing, and Thunderbolts was a. There weren't any that would interest me, but the Thunderbolts was the closest, I guess. This is the most recent Marvel film. Yes, they're still making it, making them, and people have been liking this film as opposed to the films they have been putting out uh, over the past years since Endgame.
Mm.
Because it like the characters are like like family. They're discussing trauma वगैरह. I personally like it wasn't, even though I like those themes. This wasn't a film for me because it still feels very inauthentic as like like this is one of my beliefs in like uh filmmaking or making any art, that unless you make art for just one person, like with just one person in mind, it's not going to feel authentic. Like, you cannot think about how a crowd would react to it too much. I mean, that's like there can be exceptions to that, sure, but like you cannot think too much about that, right? You're making art for one person. And Marvel films never feel like that. They, I mean, this is not an original point to make. Like has been said many times, but they always feel like they're made by a committee.
Yeah, yeah, I also feel the same in the handful of Marvel movies I have watched.
Hmm. Yeah. Mm, last night I watched The Watermelon Woman again. I don't know if I've talked about this uh, pehle.
Uh,
I, I don't know. I just like I like this film. I wanted to watch this film with Samiksha again. Okay, yeah, this is a good jumping off point for uh, something I've been feeling recently. So I really wanted to watch this film because with Samiksha because it's about like film about filmmaking. She's interested in filmmaking and making art, and it's it's a nice indie film that if would that a person interested in filmmaking would like probably. And uh, I made the mistake of inviting Pranat and Yash to this.
mm,
They are not used. I mean, they're not. It's not their fault. It was my mi- misjudgment. Misjudgment, is that a word? Uh,
I think so, yeah.
yeah, they're not used to watching films like this. They don't watch films like this. This is a very personal taste. It's slow, and they were bound to find it boring.
Mm,
Uh, so like discussion when and like it's not a film you watch with friends too. I guess it's like when you're watching films with friends, you sort of expect to like make fun of the film, have fun with the film while talking. You talk over the film. Uh, I didn't want to happen that that to happen with this film, and it did, and I yeah, I do think that it's my misjudgment. It's not their fault though.
mm.
Uh,
How
yeah,
was the film?
I this is my second time watching the film. I really like that film. Uh, Samiksha liked this film too. Um,
What's the like theme?
themes are a little complex, but मैं तुझे इसका premise बता देता हूँ. There's this black lesbian filmmaker who wants to be a filmmaker. She's a more like a wedding videographer right now,
Mm,
and she sort of as a project she gets interested in this very black actress from a really old Hollywood film जिसका नाम उस फिल्म में credits में it's just written the watermelon woman, and she
oh,
like she goes on to try to make a documentary about the her trying to unveil who this woman actually was, and it's a documentation of that. एक minute भाई ये क्या कर what is that in your hand?
ईयरफोन का प्लग है।
ओह आई थॉट तूने अपने हेडफोन्स का निकाल के ऐसे कर रहे तो बोल और सुन के इसमें रहा है.
क्या हो भाई?
Yeah, it's
I
uh-huh.
कुछ नहीं कंटिन्यू।
The film is basically about this person trying to make a documentary which almost feels like a video essay if you look at it today. But and it deals with themes of uh, how the world sees black media, almost like There's this almost treatment of exoticism to it. Okay, almost it's what's the word? Comed, comedize? I cannot don't remember what the word is, but yeah, commodity. It seems as a commodity almost, but uh, I feel like the सब तेरे सर के ऊपर से गया.
No, no, I got a little.
Hmm.
Uh,
Uh, it's like if somebody watched a white guy watched a Western film and sorry, a white guy watched a Bollywood film and they would be like, oh, this is a Bollywood film. This is not just a film; it's a Bollywood film. It's like a film from this alien world that I'm not too familiar with. Uh, anyway, that aside. Uske Yeah, what was going to talk about with this was I've recently been losing a lot, losing my patience for listening to other people's criticisms of the films I like.
what triggered that? What
Recently,
happened?
like not, I've like over like the past week, I've been getting really annoyed at listening to other people's opinions on films, and like like, I don't understand. I just feel very annoyed by it. It's almost. I'll tell you why I feel annoyed by it. Because most people aren't, I think, mindful of uh, how the criticism is coming across, and I might be guilty of this too. Even though, when at least talking about films, I try to be mindful of that. Uh, so basically, when you tell someone about a film you like, and then they respond with weird nitpicks of the film. They try to articulate, okay, this could have been better, and that this could should have been like that. Personally, I don't look at films like that. एक तो कि it's this person made this film. You don't get to say कि ये ऐसे होना चाहिए था, वो ऐसे होना चाहिए था, क्योंकि it's like uh, that's not how art works. Uh, दूसरा, uh, when you respond like that, and like instead of talking in a tone where it might sound like you're talking about your personal opinion, you're like how your taste functions and how it might not align with your tastes, you're kind of telling the other person, trying to actively tell the other person that they're stupid for liking this,
Mm,
which honestly would annoy anyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember having this encounter. Uh, I had a friend which who made me listen to a particular song and wanted to know my opinion on it. And like because I generally don't listen to music and like just not into music in general, so I did not find anything amusing about that song, and like they were quite disappointed because they were excited to like listen to that song and excited to hear my opinion because they liked it so much, but were pretty. what, disappointed when I had no special feelings for it. But at the same time, I did not really know what else I could do, because how do I meet their expectations, right? Because okay, that song or any like media in general could be some could be actually good, but if I'm not the right recipient for it to appreciate it, like there is nothing I can do to like kind of meet
Y-
their expectations
Yeah,
of like appreciating that media.
I agree with you on that. It's sometimes like in these there are cases when it's sort of the always the fault of the recommender that they weren't ready for it. And but what I'm specifically talking about is the need to criticize it.
Mm,
I like you in the story you told you didn't criticize it, and like and criticizing in a case like that again makes it sound like you're calling the other person stupid for liking it. If you have something you liked about it, sure, talk about that. But, and if something did not align with your taste, or you want to talk about your taste, talk about that. And
mm.
I don't see the point in criticizing the work. Like, unless you're trying to understand something about the person, I guess. Like,
I actually the thing you're talking about, I had that experience in Genshin.
mm,
Uh, because that is almost a 5 year old game, right?
mm,
And most, if not like almost 99% of the player base who started in the beginning left the game, and I might be the one of the handful people who are still playing that game.
mm,
So the but that game still gets a lot of new players regularly, right? Because just because of its popularity. So like whenever there are new people coming in, and like they even become part of the community, right? Because I'm quite active in that Genshin subreddit, because mainly because the game is quite technical in its combat aspect, and like there is a lot to discuss for new characters and strategies and stuff. So like that's like a really big part of my enjoyment with that game, like discussing new strategies and stuff in the community. But whenever there are like newcomers who are kind of unaware of the mechanics and like how the game functions, and they sort of like with their they give like opinion on any, like if the developer makes any changes to the games or any brings any new characters, they give their opinion on that. And what
mm.
annoys me a lot is generally that sort of immature opinion is the general, like the majority, what's the word, sentiment, becomes the majority sentiment. And like it gets a positive feedback because the majority of the player base consists of newcomers, and they are not aware of the technical details. That sentiment becomes uh, the majority sentiment, and they have this feeling that they are right because majority of the people agree with them. That means it has to be right, which is not the case usually. And it makes discussing like strategies really difficult uh now. Like I've been experiencing, and like if you try to tell them that okay, you have some knowledge, background knowledge on why that something would be bad, because like to give you an example, like if there was an older character which came out long time ago and had some issues with a specific mechanic, and now there is a new character coming in which somewhat have the same features as that older character. So like if someone tries to see it that yeah, you try to tell them that this character had these problems, they would just say that if I don't like them, I should just not get that character and I should not form my opinion. Like in the hindsight, it seems like a fair opinion, right? Because if you just don't like a character, just don't get them. But that doesn't mean I cannot criticize that character because I have the knowledge that it's going to be bad for the game. I'm going too much in detail, but you get my point.
So like some players like to play with certain characters which does not meet your strategy. You get it?
Then leave the technical things behind. What I'm saying, like the part which annoys me is that because now majority of the player base consists of new players which are generally not that familiar with strategizing, and because about this game has about over 100 characters now, right? And each character has in depth their own mechanics and stuff, so
Hmm.
there is a lot of depth that you have to
So
know
who are
to.
these people you are trying to tell what characters to choose?
No, I'm not trying to tell these people. I'm just trying to like get uh, like there are new characters coming in this game each month, right? So like
Hmm.
if I'm trying to say my opinion on that new coming character,
To
and I say
who?
that not to a particular person, but like in a as a general opinion that I don't think this character is going to be good or this character is going to perform badly. If I say that,
तू खुद से बोल रहा है किससे बोल रहा है?
I think that I'm discussing it with other people in the community, right? Who are also
Okay,
trying
you're
to.
like on a
Yeah,
Discord or something.
I told you on Reddit in particular.
Okay. Like, in what context they're talking about how cool the character is, and you come in and tell them ki
No, no, no.
it's
Actually, it was the other way around. The one example which I have in mind, the people were saying how trash that new, not the character actually, but the new event which Genshin had, how trash that character event is. But I knew that because like that event was actually really good for the game. I'm going too specific about it, but
is it one of those things जहाँ पे you like the game to be a little difficult?
uh, no. The thing is, as I told you, right, ki there is a lot to do in terms of story and stuff, but there is very little in terms of end game and like people who have actually built those characters and want to test them out. There is very little content, right?
Hmm.
So Genshin had brought. I think I told you about it some time ago. That but Genshin had brought some challenging content in the game. So like I was really happy about it, and other people who are also like interested in strategizing were happy about it. And at the same time, the developers made sure that that event did not give any kind of rewards, like like monetary rewards, which would impact your ability to pull new characters. They made sure that nobody felt left out for the rewards. But the community were bashing them, the developers, for it because just because they were not involved in that content yet. And that's what I was like arguing about. That if a particular content does not cater to you, that does not mean that content is not needed in the game. Uh, but the general sentiment was that the developer should not lean towards that kind of content. We, I went on a way too long of a tangent on this topic.
Uh,
Yeah, you can continue talking about your other films.
Films I'm done talking about. Like, um, But what I wanted to talk about now is a game I played recently, finished recently. It's a pretty small game. It's Detention. Uh, you don't have much experience with horror games, right?
I have watched a lot of horror games
Fuck off,
being
Uddu.
played.
Uh,
The only like
huh.
horror game I've played would be like Lethal Company, which is kind of a horror game, not exactly a horror game.
It was like I started playing it on the laptop, but then when I got the Steam Deck, I played it on my this amazing machine. दिख रही है तुझे this amazing machine. Do you feel jealous
Uh-huh.
of it, Uddu? Do you want something like that, Uddu? इस पे
Not
गेंशिन
really,
खेलने
but
में कितना
okay.
मजा आएगा, तू क्या बकवास कर रहा है?
I don't think so, but okay.
Oh man, I really love this thing.
Uh-huh.
Although
Is
I've
it
not.
not heavy? Like whenever you show me that, I always think how heavy that's going to hold,
No,
like hold
it's
it
a
for a
good
long
weight, I
time.
would say. It's a good
Like
weight.
I have deleted Genshin from my system because I got it on my phone,
वेट तूने
and
फोन पे
like
खेलना शुरू कर दिया?
yes, because like on my system I was having issue editing podcast and stuff, right?
Hmm.
And Genshin was taking more and more space with each update.
Oh.
So like yeah, I switched to playing on my phone. But even still, I feel quite uncomfortable just because I have to hold this phone like this for a long time.
Maybe
And
you should. हाँ, but तू खत्म कर ले. Sorry.
like
Phone.
I would imagine that Steam Deck would be much heavier than my phone.
I have played games on phones, and like I don't think I mind the इतना भारी लगता है मुझे.
Do you feel that?
I
Like
like I think you're just not used to it. Maybe I don't know.
like what posture do you use while playing that on that?
चेयर पे बैठा हूँ तो ऐसे खेलता हूँ, ऐसे
Huh,
खेलता
so like
हूँ, बिस्तर पे खेलता हूँ मैं लेटे लेटे.
yeah, so like does that not put pressure on your wrist, the weight of that device?
No, it's a pretty. I find it quite ergonomic, honestly.
I don't know. That's because I had the same problem when I played PUBG, you remember, right? I did not like
Uh,
playing on the
All
phone.
I will say, I mean, but since you talk, I didn't mention it because you're talking about the weight of the device, but like a phone is really, I feel bad for like, I, I find phone to be pretty bad for gaming ergonomically. Like it's like very uncomfortable. It's not designed for that. It doesn't have buttons like that. You have to use the touch screen. Does not feel good to play on a phone. How is Genshin on a phone?
Not nearly as good as on laptop. It's quite difficult, but
I
that is my best bet until I get a new system.
I was actually gonna say,
Mm.
why like don't you, maybe you seem like you're in a good position to try Linux.
I don't see the reason to make like that effort to switch to another operating system. I don't have any issues with Windows.
Oh, like because a lot of people who feel that their machines are like old and not working properly, they find that like switching to Linux, uh, they feel that it performs better.
Like my machine is performing all right. Like there is no issue with performance. It's just that it does not have enough memory for
Hmm.
Genshin or other game.
Okay, okay.
But I will switch
I
to a new system
I
sooner or
will.
later.
अभी मैं खुद लिनक्स पे स्विच नहीं किया है, पर मैं बोल रहा हूँ तो I will.
क्या
I will I pull you to the pull you pull what the fuck what is the word? I will
Drag.
drag you to the dark side.
Hmm. I saw that PewDiePie also made a video about it, that he's switching to Linux some time ago.
Oh, I think I came across a Reddit post about that or something. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, maybe if I'm starting from scratch when I get a new system, I can keep that in mind to
May-
try out another operating system.
the day Markiplier switches to Linux, Uddu will switch to Linux.
You, I don't think you understand. Like, I don't see Markiplier as someone I to look up to. I just enjoy his gameplays.
Okay, okay. मजाक
Like,
कर
I don't follow what he does in his real life or anything like that.
मजाक कर रहा था मैं उद्दू. Also, if you're
Okay,
making your
okay.
own PC, just putting it out there that Windows costs money and Linux is free. Oh, have you like? क्योंकि this was a really old discussion. Have you? क्योंकि you know that you'll eventually buy some machine pretty soon. Uh, do you see yourself inclining towards one or the other one, like a desktop versus a laptop?
I think I will go for a laptop just because I can take it anywhere.
Hmm.
Because like sometimes I'm here, sometimes I like to sit downstairs, sometimes I take it to my grandma's place, right?
Uh,
So in that regard,
makes
that's
sense.
much better.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Also, I don't think like I will have much use of a PC. Uh, like generally because you use PC if you want to do some heavy weight tasks, right? Uh,
Um,
maybe.
I guess. I mean, you do that for with laptops too. You like आजकल you can do heavyweight tasks with laptops too.
Yeah. But I think they are quite expensive as compared to PC, right? Building a PC,
Yeah,
the
PC.
gaming laptops and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's much more expensive. Um, so detention. Yeah, this is a horror game. I liked the game. Uh, Part of my enjoyment of it was slightly ruined by uh, इंटरप्शन कि मैं कुछ दिन तक खेला नहीं था गेम एंड देन आई गॉट बैक टू इट इट्स अ वेरी स्मॉल गेम आई थिंक 4-5 घंटे में ख़त्म कर दिया था मैंने एंड इट्स अ again it deals with themes I personally really enjoy and they fit the themes of horror very very well.
What themes?
I like in some ways it's similar to the kind of themes Silent Hill 2 deals with. But I like and I don't think I can meaningfully talk about the themes of this without talking about the themes of Silent Hill 2. And even though this is like a its own game, but I would prefer to do it that way if I was to talk about it. Uh, but I will not, Kyuki. I want you to play Silent Hill 2 someday.
I have watched its gameplay.
Oh, तुमने पूरा देखा है?
Not I nahi. I think somewhere halfway through.
So you don't know the themes of the game then.
I cannot say if I will. Like, I cannot promise you that I will play any or any game anytime soon. Uh,
I mean,
I
I
don't
guess it
remember
doesn't
the last.
matter. Like, it's not a. It's. मैं discuss कर लेता हूँ Silent Hill. Yeah, I don't feel like it. Never mind.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
I think you have talked about Detention though, because I remember you telling me that it's similar to Silent Hill 2
yeah,
in some
it's
aspects.
similar to it, but it's still like its own game. It does not feel like a derivative, uh, mindless derivative of Silent Hill. It's its own thing, and uh, it deals with themes of regret, and it is not toothless about it. You know, uh, that's something I like about f- games like these horror games. They're not toothless about their themes. They're very they like if you're the right person playing it, they can make you sick.
Uh,
I mean, sick as in like almost something like that would make you sick because if you see a part of yourself in that and you realize that is a very horrible thing to have done. Wait, why why does it still feel like a reflection of me?
mm.
uh
I guess it's kind of how Oyasumi Punpun
yeah,
had its theme going.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I will read it someday. Hopefully I will defeat it too. I don't really have any other media to talk about. We can continue with your job.
Yeah. So, uh, okay, when we went to that unallocated place, there was me and that other guy who also had the same role as me. So the two of us were released from training together.
Hmm.
And first we were sent for an interview.
Hmm.
Uh, and the project name was Vanguard, which is an investment management firm.
What the fuck?
And
That's such a bad. Okay.
huh? No,
Hmm.
but that's a really big, really, really big firm. Like uh, one, it almost like as our interviewer himself told us, ki that firm manages almost a third of America's transactions. That's how big that firm is.
Hmm.
So um, when we went to the interview, he asked us about what we know, and the other person he knew a lot about AI. So he went on and on about the project he has done.
Hmm.
And like one thing I noticed was that he was talking a lot about you know the thing we do in our exams to like the thing like about expanding on stuff which are not really relevant to the topic, but you write about it because it makes the answer longer.
Sorry, what are you talking about?
I was saying that the two of us went to that interview,
Huh.
and the interviewer asked us कि हमारा वो क्या है, वो स्किल्स क्या है, टेक्निकल स्किल्स क्या है. And
This is
the
the
other
first
guy,
interview you're talking about.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, first interview.
Okay.
So the other person had expertise in AI, So he
Hmm.
was talking about AI, and the thing I was saying is, you know that thing we do
Hmm.
in school or college
Ah.
where we try to expand the answer, like the word count of an answer, just by including irrelevant stuff in it.
Yes.
But you don't do it like fill it up with gibberish. You try to sound smart and use technical terms, or either you use technical terms and along with that, like in the interview, as he was doing, he was talking about more of the अभी क्या हॉट टॉपिक चल रहा है, राइट? अभी कौन कौन से नए नए कंपनीज इन्वॉल्व हो रही है एआई में. Like the thing he was talking about did not show his expertise of what he can do, but more of how interested, not interested, but what can I say? Like he's a nerd kind of in that domain. You know how people talk about smartphones and how many megapixels the smartphone is going to be, or the shit like that. In that sense.
You felt that
And
the other guy was doing that.
yeah, quite a lot. And I
Like
think
the
what I
interview was happening with you in the room.
yes, it was a joint interview.
Hmm.
So like we were sitting side by side basically. Uh, we were giving the interview together, and I it felt like it was quite effective, honestly. The thing he was doing, and it was kind of making me nervous and also a little irritated, because that was the opposite of what I do. I generally try to avoid talking more than I need to, like even writing answers. I remember I had to force myself to do it in exams. You would remember Varun talking about it, that I would be the last person to leave uh,
Yeah.
exam hall.
Mm-hmm.
So like I used to do it shamelessly, but that is pretty much opposite to my nature. That I generally only talk about stuff which is relevant, or even think about, not just talk. In my mind also I generally only try to think about stuff which is important.
Hmm.
But it seemed like that is not a good strategy if you are giving an interview, because you want to sound knowledgeable, right? That is the only way you can convince the interviewer that you are going to be a good quote unquote asset to him.
I
Is
guess
like he can how
the ability to bullshit, like talk, this takes you a long way. Like
like
this.
even though if you're not, like even if you're not bullshitting, even if you are good at actually good at something, how do you convey that to the other person? How would you the other person know that you are actually good at something? The only way is that you sound knowledgeable about it, right? You cannot like create a project right then and there at the interview where he's taking the interview, right?
Hmm.
You have to sound knowledgeable to convince the other person that you're actually knowledgeable and know your stuff,
Yeah.
right? But that is not something I'm good at. Even though I know about something, I would not like talk about it, or uh, what can I say, be that much excited to talk about it with someone else.
Hmm.
So like I felt this thing on the first interview, but like slowly uh, got the idea that I have to start doing this if I want to clear an interview over the next few interviews. I'll go about it later. So yeah, like he completed his whole talk, which like went on about 15 minutes. He went on and on about the different things, like each and everything he can think about, relevant thing about AI. He talked about everything almost. He spilled almost everything he knew about AI to him, to the interviewer. And suddenly the interviewer asked me, okay, so what do you know? Like, what is my area of expertise? And I felt a really awkward at that moment, that I am expected to talk about the stuff I know uh, to that interviewer, and I practically blanked out. Like, I gave an overview that I have done this, I'm interested in competitive coding, or I have done this internship.
Mm.
Like, even when I explained my internship, I explained it in like 2 or 3 lines, and that's all. Like, I didn't know what else to say, or uh, what things to go on about. Like, that's just not what I do. So I, like, even when I said it, I felt like it is going to be quite underwhelming compared to the other guy.
Hmm. And then.
And that's basically what happened. That he asked both of us to like study some stuff, like look into some stuff. He asked us to read about cloud computing and agentic AI.
Hmm.
And when we went to the HR, our HR told me that the other guy has already been selected.
Like,
And
why did they tell you to study for it?
I think the interviewer wanted to give me another chance, kind
Did
of.
you get another chance?
Yeah, we had another interview with the same interviewer. But like, he asked me to study cloud computing, right? And I did study it and understood exactly what it does. But the thing is, I can simplify and say what it does in a single line, what cloud computing does and what there are the components of cloud computing. I can pretty much compile it in a single line.
Hmm.
But the other guy, once again, went on about some random stuff related to cloud computing, which
Oh,
like
like
did not
they,
really.
like they just basically that Three Idiots meme. Like, seen this where the
Yes.
guy is trying to define a machine.
Yeah. I I
Like,
I want to
if
say,
if
like,
you
I don't want
listen,
to.
actually, like, listen to that definition. From what
Uh,
I as a kid, I didn't pay attention to what he was saying. Like, you weren't supposed to pay attention to it. और जल्दी जल्दी कुछ
uh,
इंग्लिश में बोल देते हैं. If you pay
uh,
attention to it, it's such a bullshit definition he gives.
uh,
I will intercut that definition यहाँ पर podcast में
time
examples
note
भरे
down
हुए
कर
हैं
ले.
definition में.
Sir, machines are any combination of bodies so connected that their relative motions are constrained, and by which means force and motion may be transmitted and modified as a screw in its nut, or a lever arranged to turn about a fulcrum, or a pulley about its pivot, etc. Especially a construction more or less complex consisting of a combination of moving parts or simple mechanical elements as wheels, levers, cams, etc.
Yes, but you go on, man. Time कर दूंगा.
I just want to make it clear that I do not think the दूसरा person है, he did anything wrong. Like, I'm not saying that. What he's doing is actually necessary, and he is pretty fine. Like, it's pretty all right to do what he was doing. It's just that I am not used to doing this.
He's
And
gaming the
even
system.
like,
Uddu's not a
yeah,
true gamer.
yeah, like, it was a weird realization that I have to learn this kami skill just to clear an interview. Like, I felt at that moment that it is not enough to be knowledgeable about a subject. I have to develop this skill of sounding knowledgeable about that subject.
Ta-da. Yeah. Yeah. Samiksha
And
says
like,
that she's pretty good at it. Like,
nice.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I get rejected again.
Hmm.
in that interview.
वहाँ पर उस इंटरव्यूअर ने ही तेरा दिल तोड़ दिया था. From what I remember, he said something that broke your heart.
Yeah, I like, yeah, even in the through the middle of that interview, I knew that I am not going to be selected. So
Hmm.
I directly asked him that, okay, this job role seems to be requiring AI, which he is good at, but I that is not really my domain. So what can I work towards? Like, not what can I work towards, but what other technology does this project requires? Maybe there is something I can contribute towards. And he pretty much says कि देखो सिर्फ दो चीज में काम होता है, या तो AI या तो data science, which is actually basically AI, which is like it relates to machine learning and all that stuff, but that is pretty much a subdomain of AI.
Hmm.
तो मतलब अब बस AI ही है, जो बाकी सारा काम होता है वो सब उस पर रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं रहती, उसको ये AI डेवलपर्स ही कर देते हैं उसको, कोई और अलग से हमको टीम नहीं चाहिए होती उसके लिए.
Hmm.
And like the whole process is pretty much automated at this point. And like he basically what he said was he the only thing you should learn is AI and everything else is useless.
क्योंकि कोड
And
तो
that's
AI
what
कर देता है.
like nahi, that's not what he was implying.
Oh.
Even if AI code nahi karta hai, but the AI engineer himself can code everything else.
Because he has that assistance, right? Is point पर.
Nahi, that's not, no, that's not the point. How do I explain it? What is a good example?
Like you're saying that an AI developer is automatically a full stack developer.
Yeah, AI, क्योंकि अभी AI के नए प्रोजेक्ट्स आ रहे हैं, so a company requires an AI developer, right?
Mm-hmm.
अब मान ले कुछ और इशू आता है, उसको रिजॉल्व करना है. So the company does not need to hire another, like have another team for to resolve that issue or get that thing
Why?
sorted. He would just he would just use the AI developers for that.
Why?
क्या हुआ है?
Why? पहले ही अलग क्यों थे? अब सेम क्यों है?
That's
पहले
basically
ऐसे स्पेशलाइज क्यों रखते थे फ्रंट एंड बैक एंड?
that is basically something कि uh, थोक के भाव में इतने एम्प्लॉयज आ रहे हैं कि नाउ दे कैन गेट ऑल इन वन पैकेज प्रेटी मच. पहले you need, like it was not as automated as it is now. हर चीज का बहुत ही efficient tool आ चुके हैं. You just have to look into how to use that tool for maybe a day or two, and you can like do every single job a software developer can do.
Hmm.
Uh, is from like what I understand. Of course, हर project के अगर in depth जाओगे तो अपने अलग अलग task होंगे, is what I believe. But like you need not have separate teams for every task anymore.
That sounds weird to me. But okay. From what I understand, you did eventually get into a project. How was that?
No, that was much later. There is a lot of story going in between.
Okay, give us the
I,
lore.
after that, I got uh, an interview for another project, which was Bank of Montreal. And in that interview, he again asked me what I know. I told him. And acha, actually, I should mention one point that my main strength is C++,
Yeah.
but nobody in the entire TCS, in all of projects in TCS uses C++ or even anywhere else. Like जब मैं HR के पास गया and he asked me कि मेरे क्या skills है, and when I said C++, do you know what he said? उनने बोला सी प्लस प्लस तो हटा ही देना चाहिए among programming languages because
Hmm.
nobody uses it. And like, sure, I guess,
Hmm.
whatever. But okay, when I went to give my second interview, unne, I first told him that I'm a prime candidate. Now, among freshers, prime is supposed to be the best, like the highest role you can get.
Hmm.
But the role is given on the basis of how well you did in the coding interview, right?
Hmm.
And how well you did in the coding interview basically represents how good you are at that language. Like, it also represents your problem solving ability from data structure algorithm, but it mainly represents that you're really good at that programming language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So me getting that prime role was because I did really good in the coding round, but because I used C++ for that, it means my prime role was given on the basis on my expertise on C++.
Hmm.
The problem is अब मेरे को जैसे the same thing happened in the this second interview. तो उनने पूछा कि in which language I gave that coding interview. I said C++, and he had that visible look. Okay, that means my basis of getting recruited as a prime candidate is basically irrelevant because nobody uses C++. So I am basically seen as a candidate which is going to provide no value to the company, is what the
Well,
sentiment
I'm
seems
like,
to be.
what languages do they say that are relevant that you should know?
Java.
Java.
And
भूख
if you are
लगाती है
going
यार.
to huh?
जावा सुन के मुझे जवे की याद आ जाती है.
uh, Java, or if you are going into data science and AI, then Python.
So like
I have
Java
worked with Python,
and
right? I said that in multiple interviews, but every time I say that, because I told you, right, कि जो Python mainly data science और AI के लिए use होता है.
hmm.
So they asked me like in that context, but I have not worked with AI or machine learning. The place where I worked in did my internship, वहाँ पे Python से development कर रहा था. But nobody cares about Python development here because they don't use Python for development. They use Python for data science and AI. तो मेरा पहली बात तो सी प्लस प्लस का जो मेरा टेक्निकल नॉलेज है वो कम्प्लीटली इरेलीवेंट हो चुका है. जो मेरा पाइथन का नॉलेज है नाउ दैट इज ऑल्सो इरेलीवेंट
What
बिकॉज
does
आई
it
मैं
mean कि they use it for AI? Like
डेटा साइंस में स्पेशल लाइब्रेरीज होती है पांडास नमपाई यू
नहीं
माइट
वो
हैव
I
हर्ड
understand
साइकिट.
that मैंने यूज किया है वो मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कि like जैसे for example research में when I used Python मैंने वही लाइब्रेरीज यूज करी जो तूने बोला पांडा नमपाई वगैरह for like and
हाँ
even web scraping tools
हाँ हाँ
Python से
सेलेनियम.
yeah
हाँ
वो यूज किया
व्हाई आर यू लाफिंग.
and like to like CSV बनाया उस CSV को एनालाइज करने के लिए यूज किया. व्हाट डज इट मीन तेरे केस में तू क्या कर रहा है?
व्हाट डिड आई डू विद पाइथन इन माय केस. व्हाट आर यू आस्किंग. I did my internship, right? And in my internship, I basically created Python scripts for doing testing on a client product. Uh, how to give you an example? समझ ले तेरे को एक राउटर दे दिया and you have जिसका claim है कि it gives you 5G network, but you want to make sure कि it actually gives 5G network. How do you test that? So I basically created from scratch a Python script which will be able to perform that whole test. Ki it would get that network traffic, it would analyze the packets, whether they're getting encrypted and decrypted
You're
at the
doing that?
ports. I did that in my
Oh,
internship.
acha, ठीक है, ठीक.
So that kind of Python knowledge I have. Ki writing like basic, not basic, but like proper
What is
coding.
it supposed to mean in AI development?
In AI development, they expect you to have a deep knowledge of the specific Python libraries which pertain to AI.
No, but what are you doing? What actual work will you be doing?
In AI,
Because, yeah, like I understand how it would be used for data analysis. I'm
uh,
curious how it would be used for AI.
you train your AI, you fine tune your AI, you set the hyperparameters according to your needs. You train, give the
Didn't
AI
you
the
say that though, ki most of the AI work is just like sort of making
outsourced.
existing जो models हैं AI के उन्हें किसी task के लिए specialize करना.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You use the API key for the already exist, generally OpenAI or फिर
Hmm.
Gemini kind of. You would use their API keys, and then you still need, like, if you're using their API for your own company's product, you still
Hmm.
need to give it proper prompts, right? System prompts कि how that AI should act. हर कंपनी का तो देखेगा, हर AI का अपना खुद का kind of personality होती है. Like if you would see Gemini की थोड़ी अलग personality होगी as compared to OpenAI. Even
How
though
does
it's
that happen? Like how do you
like you
train
give
it
a
for that?
you don't train it. That is something
Okay.
you don't train. जैसे पूरा जो model है उसका, that is already pre-trained. You don't make changes to that.
So do you
जो last
make
में output
numerical
आता है,
changes to it?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, तो पूरा मॉडल है, नोड्स है, दे आर केप्ट द सेम. बस जो
Uh-huh.
लास्ट लेयर होती है उसकी, जब आउटपुट निकल के आता है, इन दैट लास्ट आउटपुट यू गिव दैट प्रॉम्प्ट कि हाउ इट वांट्स यू टू एक्ट, तो इट काइंड ऑफ चेंजेस इट्स फाइनल आउटपुट अकॉर्डिंग टू योर नीड्स.
So
लाइक
like
इफ इज
if I want it to be more polite, for example,
हाँ, तो यू डोंट नीड टू
more
ट्रेन द होल मॉडल अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट, राइट? यू कैन जस्ट गिव कि हाँ यही आंसर तुम्हें देना है बट पोलाइटली.
no, but how? What is the process of making that change? Is there like
यू
a
गिव दैट.
bar की politeness bar? तो यहाँ से यहाँ तक
नहीं, नहीं,
चलो.
नहीं. You can't. You actually, even if you wanted, you can't have a bar like that. It does
मैं
not
इसलिए
work like that.
पूछ रहा हूँ.
जो
What do you do?
yeah, तो that thing you do at the end of your output. ये पूरा मॉडल बना हुआ है जिसके अंदर बिलियंस ऑफ नोड्स है, जिसके थ्रू पूरा वो प्रोसेसिंग करके आउटपुट दे रहा है. बट एट द वेरी लास्ट जो उसका लेयर होती है, जहाँ पे वेरी फ्यू नोड्स होंगे, ये ओनली ट्वीक दैट. यहाँ
But
पे 100, 200,
how?
400. How do we tweak that, you're asking?
हाँ, तू क्या करेगा इसमें, मैं ये पूछ रहा हूँ essentially.
Uh, Basically, you write it. There are few ways of doing it actually. I think there were three ways. पहला तो you can give examples कि अगर मान ले ये क्वेश्चन पूछा है तो उसका इस तरीके से आंसर देना है, ये क्वेश्चन पूछा है तो उसका इस तरीके से आंसर देना है, तो यू गिव 3 or 4 एग्जांपल्स, और जो उसके लास्ट लेयर है इट वुड चेंज इट अकॉर्डिंग.
Examples.
यस, इट्स कॉल्ड मल्टी शॉट प्रॉम्प्टिंग. It's an actual method, like multi-shot prompting, in which you give examples how it should act.
So you give it a very small training data almost. It sounds like it. तो examples दे रहा है.
We are literally giving examples कि
तो,
ऐसा टाइप
like,
ऑफ क्वेश्चन है.
isn't that sort of a training model? A bit.
It's kind of like a prompt in a sense. Training model ये होता है when you give, तुमने बोल, I will give an example. ट्रेनिंग वुड हैव बीन कि तेरे पास एक मशीन लर्निंग मॉडल है जो एक डॉग की ब्रीड, मतलब एक डॉग की फोटो देखता है और उसकी ब्रीड बताता है. दैट वुड बी अ मशीन लर्निंग मॉडल. कब तू उसको एक डॉग की एक फोटो दे रहा है और तू बोल रहा है कि देखो ये फोटो ये वाली ब्रीड की है, ये फोटो ये वाली ब्रीड की है. बट दैट्स नॉट व्हाट यू आर डूइंग. यू आर सेइंग कि ये जो ब्रीड तुम जब बताने वाले हो, इसको
Hmm.
तुम टाइम्स न्यू रोमन के फॉन्ट में दो, you're just saying that, you're just adding that, so you're not training the model on the actual thing it's been trained on. You're just giving जो लास्ट में जो बहुत क्या बोलेंगे उसको, ट्रिवियल सा change you're making to the model at the very end of it. uh, उसका मतलब बेसिकली जो पूरा खुद का बड़ा मॉडल है, इट रिमेन्स अनचेंज्ड. लास्ट में यू जस्ट जो आउटपुट वो लेके आया, यू मॉडिफाई दैट आउटपुट अकॉर्डिंग टू योर नीड्स. तो जो एक्चुअल आउटपुट आ रहा था, इट वुड रिमेन द सेम, just the way it is giving is changed. Do you get it? But you can also change the whole model according to your needs. That is also a thing we do. Like, it's called fine tuning a model. You can also do that. It's the most complicated of the things you can do, but it is also a thing which companies do sometimes.
I don't think I completely get it, but let's move on
I
from
will give
that.
you an example.
Oh,
I will give you an example. Uh, मान ले तेरी एक कंपनी है, उसके एक डेटाबेस है जिसमें सारे एम्प्लॉयज का इंफॉर्मेशन है कि ये एम्प्लॉय क्या ये हिस्ट्री है, ये एम्प्लॉय की ये हिस्ट्री है. नाउ इफ यू यूज एन एपी ओपन एआई या जेमिनाई की ऑफ कोर्स वो जो चैट जीपीटी, उसको तो पता नहीं कौन से एम्प्लॉय की क्या हिस्ट्री है, राइट? उसके डेटाबेस में वो डेटा नहीं है.
hmm.
सो व्हाट यू से कि तुमसे जब क्वेश्चन पूछे जाए, तुम नॉर्मली वही आंसर करोगे जो तुम नॉर्मल आंसर करते हो. बट just at the very end, you check this particular database which I'm giving you, जिसमें एम्प्लॉयज का डेटा है, और उस डेटाबेस में तुम देखोगे कि is there any data related to that, and if there is data according to that, then you get that, give that information to the client. So basically
It's scary that
तुमने
the example you gave is sort of scary. Because that it's being used for that already.
uh,
That like
so I think
mm,
this process is called something like RAG. I don't remember the full form, but if you can look it up, like RAG process कहलाती है, yeah, exactly what I said. कि you just like provide the
hmm.
AI uh, uh, some of your own data set,
Hmm.
and retrieve augmented generation. That is the full form. So basically, it retrieves or looks into that database before giving you the final output. That's what generally companies use it for. Ugh. Anyway,
How did you find the project?
no, that was the second interview I was going on about, right?
Yeah.
तो उस इंटरव्यू में मना कर दिया मेरे को, बिकॉज एज आई सेड कि जो सी प्लस प्लस में मेरी एक्सपर्टीज है, इट हैज़ बीन डिसरिगार्डेड. जो मेरा पाइथन में जो मैं काम कर रहा हूँ, दैट हैज आल्सो बीन डिसरिगार्डेड बिकॉज इट वाज नॉट
Hmm.
मेकिंग यूज ऑफ मशीन लर्निंग और एआई.
Hmm.
एंड इसके बाद मेरा इंटरव्यू माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में हुआ, जो एक मतलब एक प्रोजेक्ट जिसका क्लाइंट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट है. एंड इन दैट इंटरव्यू उनने दे आस्क्ड एसक्यूएल. एसक्यूएल, डू यू नो एसक्यूएल?
Yeah, it's a database management kitchen.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I have studied SQL, but I had no memory of how the commands and stuff worked. Maybe I
It
should
kind
have
of
revised it if I'm
seems
going.
scary. SQL to me always like मैंने कभी यूज करने की कोशिश नहीं करी. Seems kind of scary.
Uh, yeah, like the this in this interview, I felt particularly, what can I say, angry. I was really angry after this interview because I would not expect going into an interview that they would ask me such questions. मैं एसक्यूएल तब पढ़ के जाऊंगा अगर मैं कोई एप्टीट्यूड टेस्ट देने जा रहा हूँ कंपनी का, या टेक्निकल जहाँ पे क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं.
Hmm.
आई वुड जस्ट एक्सपेक्ट कि मैं कोई इंटरव्यू अगर देने आ रहा हूँ, दे वुड वांट टू नो कि मेरी क्या एक्सपर्टीज है एंड व्हाट आई नो अबाउट दैट. आई वुड नॉट एक्सपेक्ट कि वो मेरे से कंप्यूटर साइंस की पूरी डिग्री में जो जो पढ़ा हूँ उसमें से रैंडमली उठा के पूछने लग जाएंगे.
Hmm.
Like, of course, if I am already been hired in a company, I would expect कि वो मेरी expertise देखेंगे and assign me the task which fits my expertise, right?
Hmm.
But the opposite was happening here. कि वो अपनी जो requirement है, वो they were just testing कि वो requirement मेरे पास मैं fulfill कर सकता हूँ कि नहीं. If I can be a useful asset to them for their particular requirement. और अगर नहीं है तो रिजेक्ट कर देंगे, और जाके कोई और जाके देखो कि तुम कर पाओगे कि नहीं. That is what was happening.
गर्मी हो रही है उधर.
नहीं, या तो इस माइक्रोसॉफ्ट के इंटरव्यू में भी रिजेक्ट कर दिया मेरे को. उसमें मेरे से पाइथन भी पूछे थे.
इसमें क्यों रिजेक्ट किया?
एंड पहली बात तो एसक्यूएल पूछा था,
Hmm.
वो सीधे में मना कर दिया. मैं आई देयर वर 8 अदर एम्प्लॉइज which were giving an interview with me, and उनकी जो 1 महीने की ट्रेनिंग हुई थी, they had to study SQL in that, so they were kind of like refreshed with that subject. I did not even look it up even once before going into the
Do you
interview because I did not know
just straight up say no in those cases? Do you interviewees just straight up say no in those cases, या फिर घुमाने फिराने की भी कोशिश करते हैं?
I I am personally quite straight about if I don't know about something, I just straight up say I don't know
नहीं, मुझे
this.
पता है तू ये करता है, मैं पूछ रहा हूँ usually. Like, do you think people benefit from that? कि इसकी जगह ये बोला होता कि
I mean,
it's
it
been a while
depends.
since I've looked
It
at it. मुझे 1 आध दिन
it
लगेगा
depends
रिफ्रेश
if
करने में. हाँ.
it depends if you are able to fool the interviewer or not. In that case, if you could successfully fool that into believing that you
S-
actually have some idea about it, then it will be beneficial. But if you are caught red-handed that you are bullshitting,
bas- you need
then you have a
basically you
disadvantage.
need good charisma stats.
Yes. That's what I basically discovered after entering this, that that is an actual skill you need to have in this environment.
Hmm. I can see that.
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it because when you're at school or college, the only thing matters is your scores, right? Ki How well you perform in boards or in entrance exams or in college exams, right? That is the only metric
Hmm.
of evaluating you. And like even just interview bhi hote, they were not interviews, they were more like presentations. Like you, right, you give a presentation in college.
Hmm.
That's the most interaction you have with the evaluators.
Hmm.
But that is no longer a metric as soon as you come into the corporate world. Nobody cares how well you can perform on paper,
Hmm.
but the main thing that matters if you are able to convince the other person by talking. But anyways, Microsoft का इंटरव्यू भी नहीं हुआ. And then uh, a thing something happened which really demoralized me. कि इसके बाद मैं एचआर के पास गया कि व्हाट अदर प्रोजेक्ट्स आई कैन अप्लाई टू. तो एचआर थी मेरी, शी सेड कि ये एक अल्टीमेटिक्स है. अल्टीमेटिक्स इज बेसिकली द पोर्टल, टीसीएस पोर्टल, जहाँ पे हम अपने लॉगिन वगैरह वो सब करते हैं
Hmm.
और अपना एम्प्लॉय डेटा वगैरह देखते हैं. तो मतलब ये टीसीएस का खुद का ही पोर्टल है.
Hmm.
तो शी सेड कि आई कैन गो गिव इंटरव्यू फॉर दैट अल्टीमेटिक्स प्रोजेक्ट. बट मेरे एचआर के जस्ट बाजू में एक दूसरे एचआर बैठे हुए थे. एंड ही आस्क्ड कि ये तो प्राइम कैंडिडेट है, राइट? व्हाई आर यू सेंडिंग हिम टू अल्टीमेटिक्स? And she just gave him a smile, trying to like hold back, kind of, what can you say, like trying to act, trying not to act mean towards me.
Damn,
And
that's got a sting.
that really stung me. uh, so yeah, that happened. She told him कि I have tried in all other projects but they keep rejecting me, मतलब वहाँ पे नहीं हुआ मेरा. So the other HR said कि अभी रुक जाओ, I will give his name to uh, other projects and let's see if he can be called there. And that's like basically what happened कि मैं घर पे रात को 8 बजे बैठा हुआ था मैं घर पे, and I got a call, और इंटरव्यूअर मेरे से पूछते हैं कि हाँ तुम्हें जावा आता है. I said no, कॉलेज में पढ़ा हूँ. बट
पागल आदमी.
अभी पता नहीं.
2-3 बार रिजेक्ट हो गया उसके बाद भी सीधा नो.
So what can I say? I mean, I tried to twist it by saying I have studied it in college, and the most insane thing happened. He asked me, if I know containers in Java, and I said no, I don't know containers. And interview के बाद में, I look up on Google what containers is, and it turns out it's just another word for data structures, which is like my most strong point in all of technical knowledge, data structures and algorithms. That is my strongest point. And I just said no to that. No, कि मुझे वो नहीं आता. The very thing I am the strongest at. But I got selected for that project anyway for some reason. I don't know why. उनको maybe कोई random बस बहुत desperate है कोई employee के लिए जो उनका काम कर दे. I still have no idea कि प्रोजेक्ट में क्या काम होने वाला है, मेरा क्या रोल होने वाला है.
कितना
Like
पहले
absolutely
की
zero
बात है ये?
idea. I think that happened on Tuesday.
तब से पता नहीं चला
Tuesday or
क्या काम
Wednesday.
करना है तुझे?
I asked my HR कि मुझे यहाँ से कॉल आया था. Actually, that project is for a product for TCS. Like वो TCS का खुद का product है. You can look it up. Search TCS Hobbs. HOBS. TCS Hobbs. And मैं इनके गूगल पे सर्च करके देखा कि क्या प्रोडक्ट है. And I actually cannot understand a single thing on their web page about this. I will read it out for you.
Okay.
TCS Hobbs is a cloud native, catalog centric platform with composable architecture and insights led personalization capabilities.
What?
I will repeat. TCS Hobbs is a cloud native, catalog centric platform with composable architecture and insights led personalization capabilities. You understand as much as I did. मुझे कुछ आइडिया नहीं क्या क्या तो प्रोडक्ट है इनका.
By the way, अभी this is
हाँ,
not confirmed news पर
बोलना.
वो इमेज भेजी है मैंने. Oh, तो नहीं भेजी.
Yeah, it has not loaded yet.
Oh, what the hell?
Okay. Reuters is now reporting that internet on the Hmm, okay. We will see how the conflict turns out, I guess.
Yeah. तो
या तो मेरे को बिल्कुल आइडिया नहीं कि ये प्रोजेक्ट क्या
नहीं,
है,
बट तू
मुझे
इतने
क्या
दिन
काम
से क्या
करना
कर
होगा।
रहा है?
आई एम जस्ट स्टडिंग जावा बिकॉज उन्होंने मेरे से जावा के बारे में पूछा था, एंड he asked me कि if I told him that if the project requires me to study Java, learn Java, I will do that.
हम्म।
So that's basically I've been doing. I've been trying to learn
उसी
Java.
रूम में बैठ के?
Yes. एंड मैं जावा कैसे सीख रहा हूँ, मैं बेसिकली जो मैं क्वेश्चन सी प्लस प्लस में एल्गोरिथम क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करता था, उस सेम क्वेश्चन को मैं जावा में मोबाइल पे सॉल्व कर रहा हूँ। लाइक आई एम राइटिंग द कोड ऑन माई
क्यों?
मोबाइल, और फिर उस बिकॉज आई कैनॉट ब्रिंग माई लैपटॉप देयर, राइट? आई डोंट हैव अ लैपटॉप और एनी सिस्टम।
यू हैव अ लैपटॉप? क्या बात कर रहा है?
अरे एट द ऑफिस,
तू अपना लैपटॉप नहीं जा सकता वहाँ?
आई टोल्ड यू इन द वेरी बिगनिंग कि लैपटॉप ले जाना अलाउड नहीं ऑफिस में।
वो ठीक है, आई मीन लाइक वो देख, वहां पे तू काम करने जा रहा है ना, ना उनने तुझे लैपटॉप दिया है अभी तक, ना तू प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर रहा है किसी, तब भी तू व्हाट डू दे एक्सपेक्ट यू टू डू वहां पर?
स्टडी, आई गेस।
बिना लैपटॉप के?
पता नहीं। हाँ, वहां पे 300 लोग बैठे हैं with the same situation. They are just sitting there,
You are
spend like
programmers, how are
studying.
you supposed to study without a laptop?
That's a very good question, and that's exactly why I've been programming on my phone. मैं 7 घंटे तक मोबाइल पे टाइप कर करके कोड लिखा हूँ, 70-80 लाइन का एक एक कोड।
It's bizarre.
Actually, I I don't really regret it because now that I've been gotten comfortable with coding on my phone, I at least feel कि हाँ, लैपटॉप पे ना ले जाने से मैं रिस्ट्रिक्ट तो नहीं होऊंगा अपने पढ़ने में। बिकॉज वरुण सजेस्टेड मी कि मैं थ्योरी वहां बैठ के थ्योरी पढूं दिन भर, फिर घर आके कोडिंग करूं, बट आई एम जनरली टू एग्जॉस्टेड टू लाइक स्टडी एनीथिंग व्हेन आई गेट होम।
Yeah. You do.
लेट्स सी हाउ इट टर्न्स आउट, क्या होता है प्रोजेक्ट में, क्या काम करना पड़ेगा। फ्रॉम व्हाट माय एचआर सेड, आई आस्क्ड हर अबाउट कि व्हाट दिस प्रोजेक्ट इज। शी बेसिकली जस्ट श्रग्ड एंड सेड कि हाँ, अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट है। It clearly felt like she's trying to just make me feel good
Like तेरा morale
about
down
getting
now.
this project. हाँ, it was very clear that she is being dishonest saying that, and also she she said कि ये प्रोजेक्ट रैप अप हो चुका है यहाँ से, इंदौर सेंटर से।
What?
यस, सो व्हाट दैट प्रोबेबली मीन्स कि इसकी जो पूरी टीम है वो कोई दूसरी सिटी में होगी, एंड आई विल बी वर्किंग, मतलब ऑफिस जाके काम करूंगा मैं, बट यहाँ के सिस्टम से बैठ के मैं कोई दूसरी सिटी में जो टीम बैठेगी उनसे कोलैबोरेट करूंगा मैं
Hmm.
बेसिकली। आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट इट मींस। शी डिडंट स्पेसिफाई एग्जैक्टली हाउ दैट वुड प्लान आउट विद मी।
Okay. Hmm. How's Java?
It is quite verbose, that is my main problem with Java. That's exactly why I'd never bothered to learn it, because I am quite lazy. I
Verbose
don't
मतलब like ver- I
you,
yeah, what do you mean by that? Like
C++ में बहुत छोटे में you can write code
would you call Python verbose?
compared to C++. Yes,
Okay.
C++ में you like it feels like कि C++ एकदम ही lazy programmers ने बनाया है who want to do as less work as possible
And
and as efficiently as possible.
you all
like it मैं जब भी हाँ मैं सी प्लस प्लस जब भी कोड करता हूँ, इट रियली फील्स लाइक कि इसको मेरे जैसे कोई पर्सन ने बनाया है इस लैंग्वेज को.
You feel at home.
लाइक इफ हाँ, एग्जैक्टली. एंड जावा इज क्वाइट द अपोजिट ऑफ इट, कि उसमें यू हैव टू स्पेसिफाई. टू गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, अगर तू सी प्लस प्लस में क्लास, यू नो क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट्स, ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग, हैव यू एवर हर्ड
Hmm.
अबाउट इट?
कौन सी क्या?
क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट्स.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like one of the first things you learn about C++ after coming to C++ from C.
या तो in both Java and C++, there is class and objects, right? अब C++ में if you, उसमें 3 तरह के ऑब्जेक्ट्स हो सकते हैं, पब्लिक, प्राइवेट एंड रिस्ट्रिक्ट. तीसरा क्या था? आई थिंक रिस्ट्रिक्टेड. हाँ, ये 3 है कि जो तेरे क्लास के फंक्शन से बेसिकली उसको कोई बाहर से एक्सेस कर सकता है कि नहीं, बेसिकली वो ये स्पेसिफाई करता है, राइट?
Hmm.
तो इन सी प्लस प्लस तुम बस एक बार ऊपर डिक्लेयर कर सकते हो कि हाँ, तुमने पब्लिक लिख दिया, उसके नीचे के सारे फंक्शन सब जो होंगे सब पब्लिक होंगे. यू डोंट हैव टू स्पेसिफाई फॉर ईच एंड एवरी फंक्शन. बट इन जावा तू हर एक फंक्शन लिखेगा तो हर एक फंक्शन के पीछे लिखना पड़ेगा पब्लिक एंड स्पेसिफाई. दैट वाज जस्ट एन एग्जांपल.
Hmm.
अनदर एग्जांपल, तेरे को अगर कुछ प्रिंट करना है सी प्लस प्लस में, लाइक इन पाइथन यू राइट प्रिंट, राइट? प्रिंट ऑफ पैरेंथेसिस जो तेरे को प्रिंट करना है.
Hmm.
In C++, you write C out, C or O U out for printing anything. In Java, you have to write system dot ln dot नहीं, system dot out dot println. ये पूरा statement तेरे को लिखना है हर बार whenever you want to print something. And many more examples like this.
Hmm.
कि C++ में तेरे को कोई एक वेरिएबल या कुछ इनिशियलाइज करना है, यू कैन जस्ट राइट कि वेक्टर v एंड दैट वेक्टर वुड बी इनिशियलाइज्ड. तो को ये सेम काम जावा में करना है. यू हैव टू राइट इंटीजर वेक्टर v इज इक्वल टू न्यू इंटीजर वेक्टर, और वो वेक्टर के जो इनिशियलाइज्ड वैल्यू है वो सेमीकोलन. तो वो पूरा महाभारत लिखनी पड़ेगी छोटा से छोटा काम करने के लिए.
Hmm. तेरा काम कब से शुरू हो रहा है फिर ये?
आई डोंट नो.
You don't know?
अभी मैं अभी वो एनालिटिकेटेड वाले रूम में ही बैठ रहा हूँ.
Hmm.
I asked my HR कि I asked her on Wednesday, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, and she just said कि हाँ maybe Tuesday को शुरू तुम्हें allocate कर दे. Allocate मतलब वहाँ पे तुम्हारा शुरू हो, I don't know. So I just have to wait until ये प्रोसेस हो रहा है. And on top of that, जो मेरा दूसरा दोस्त है, रिमेम्बर कि उस जिसको स्टार्टिंग में ही एलोकेशन पहले इंटरव्यू में ही हो गया था जिसका,
Hmm.
ही इज स्टिल लाइक उसको अभी तक उसका काम शुरू नहीं हुआ, वो अभी तक वेट कर रहा है उसके काम शुरू होने का. इवन दो he's been assigned to the project, उसको लैपटॉप तक नहीं मिला है अभी तक.
That's.
मतलब जो
Hmm.
प्रोजेक्ट में काम करने का
What
लैपटॉप चाहिए
laptops do
होता है
you
वो.
people get वहाँ पे?
हाँ, अभी तक जो हमको सिस्टम मिला था, एटलीस्ट ट्रेनिंग के टाइम में जो सिस्टम मिला था, दैट वाज लाइक द बेयर मिनिमम thing you would require to run VS Code. Like imagine I assign you the task
A
कि
really
तेरे को
old
ऐसा सिस्टम
ThinkPad.
देना है.
नहीं बट तू
Yes, basically.
बोल दे
Like it
सॉरी.
did not even have a CPU. उन वो छोटा सा इतना सा उनका एक पता नहीं कोई डिस्क टाइप का था जो maybe connects you to the.
Wait, you're
That
talking
was
about
not a
a
laptop.
desktop?
Yes, desktop. वहाँ पे लैपटॉप नहीं था, वहाँ पे डेस्कटॉप दिया था हमको. And it might be possible कि अभी भी हमको डेस्कटॉप ही देंगे. And they won't give us laptop because that's what our HR said in the beginning कि हमें probably लैपटॉप नहीं मिलने वाला, हमको डेस्कटॉप ही देंगे, डेस्कटॉप असाइन करेंगे which we have to use for our work. And that desktop is basically the you would bare minimum of hardware and software you would require to run VS Code. और उसके VS Code के अलावा तो और कुछ नहीं चला सकता उसमें. तो गूगल सर्च नहीं कर सकता, तो कुछ कुछ भी नहीं कर सकता उसमें, कुछ इंस्टॉल नहीं कर सकता, नथिंग.
How are you even supposed to use ChatGPT?
आई डोंट नो मैन. प्रोजेक्ट शुरू होने के बाद ही पता चलेगा क्या है. कैसे लोग काम करते हैं ये लोग।
सब खुलासा कर देना इधर अपने कॉन्फिडेंशियल प्रोजेक्ट का।
यस।
हाँ। Ah, that's all.
या दैट्स ऑल।
Oh, sounds having a job sounds like a very tiresome thing.
मेरी जॉब शुरू भी नहीं हुई अभी तक। उसके पहले ही इतना टायरसम लग रहा है, शुरू होने के बाद क्या होने वाला है। यार यू नो व्हाट्स मेकिंग मी एंग्शियस।
Hmm.
तेरा कहीं पे एलोकेशन होता है, तेरे को एक एलोकेशन नंबर मिलता है विच यू हैव टू फिल इन फॉर अटेंडेंस।
Okay.
एंड जो मेरा एलोकेशन का मेरे ऐप पे दिखा रहा है कि इट एंड्स ऑन द एंड ऑफ दिस मंथ, माय एलोकेशन एंड्स बाय द एंड ऑफ दिस मंथ।
Yeah.
सो नहीं, नॉट इवन बाय द एंड ऑफ दिस मंथ, बाय 21st ऑफ दिस मंथ। तो बेसिकली अबाउट 10 days फ्रॉम नाउ।
Hmm.
तो व्हाट माय फियर इज कि मेरा एक इंटरव्यू हुआ था अल्टीमेटिक्स, यू रिमेंबर दैट अल्टीमेटिक्स आई टॉक्ड अबाउट
Yeah.
दैट बेसिकली द साइट द टीसीएस यूजर्स। उसमें इसके मतलब नॉट इंटरव्यू, वहीं पे खड़े खड़े वो सर ने मेरे से पूछ लिया था जनरल क्वेश्चन। तो उनको ही जस्ट नीडेड एन अर्जेंट, उनको रिक्वायरमेंट थी एक कैंडिडेट की, क्योंकि उनका एक प्रोजेक्ट अटका हुआ था और उसको करने के लिए ही नीडेड अ कैंडिडेट। और उनका ऐसा था कि हाँ बस ये फ्रंट एंड, ही नीडेड कैंडिडेट फॉर फ्रंट एंड। पता है वेब पेज का फ्रंट एंड बनता है। तो
Ye-
उसकी अभी डेडलाइन बस आ रही थी अभी, मतलब अबाउट इन अ वीक बेसिकली। तो बेसिकली आई हैड टू जस्ट कंप्लीट देयर प्रोजेक्ट इन 1 week एंड आई वुड बी रिलीज्ड, कि मेरा वो प्रोजेक्ट सिर्फ एक हफ्ते का होगा और मुझे वो प्रोजेक्ट, मेरा प्रोजेक्ट खत्म हो जाएगा वो। एंड द माय फियर विद दैट इज कि क्योंकि वहां पे सिर्फ 1 week की रिक्वायरमेंट थी, क्योंकि मेरा अभी एलोकेशन इसमें सिर्फ 21st तक बता रहा है। सो व्हाट इफ कि इस प्रोजेक्ट में भी सेम चीज होने वाली हो कि उनको बस अभी एक हफ्ते के लिए काम हो मेरा, आई विल डू द वर्क फॉर अ वीक एंड फिर मेरा प्रोजेक्ट ये खत्म हो जाएगा बेसिकली, मेरे को फिर से अनएलोकेटेड जगह पर डाल देंगे एंड देन आई हैव टू अगेन लुक फॉर अनदर प्रोजेक्ट।
Hmm.
बट आई डोंट नो फॉर श्योर। मैं गया एचआरई से चीज कंफर्म करने के लिए कि व्हाट डज दैट एंड ऑफ एलोकेशन मींस, बट वहां पे वो तब थी नहीं, मुझे नहीं पता चला व्हाट दैट मींस। विल सी।
Yeah. I think I don't really have anything left either. Uh, let's end
हाउ
here
इज
then. Huh? क्या बोल?
हाउ इज योर प्रोग्रेस विद दैट मैजिक ट्रिक गोइंग?
I still haven't found the time to even think about it. Okay. It's the end of the semester. I don't know मैं क्या करने वाला हूँ. I'm gonna do this.
व्हाट?
अंगूठा सेपरेट कर. Sorry, उल्टा दिखा रहा हूँ. अंगूठा सेपरेट
you reveal
कर.
you revealed the solution, the secret of the trick before showing me the trick.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, I'm not looking forward to it. देखते हैं. But
It seems quite gloomy these days, kind of. मतलब ग्लोबली जो सिचुएशन चल रही है वो तो है ही, साथ में पर्सनली भी जो चल रहा है।
that's your 20s, I guess.
Mayhaps.
उद्दू स्टार्टअप शुरू कर दे, मैं तो कह रहा हूँ.
किस चीज का स्टार्टअप?
अचार बेच.
You know what really I think the only valuable business I see is selling food, just from how direct and simple it is. Ki you're just preparing food and giving it to the person, and he's consuming it right in front of you.
Hmm.
क्योंकि जैसे जो मैं
This is
सॉफ्टवेयर में काम
also,
कर रहा हूँ,
uh-huh.
हाँ, मैं
You
कह रहा था मैं सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोग्रामिंग का जो काम करता हूँ, इट इज सो हिडन कि मेरे को पता नहीं है मैं क्या बना रहा हूँ, उससे कौन क्लाइंट खरीदने वाला है, उससे क्या यूज करने वाला है, उसकी क्या मॉनेटरी वैल्यू, मतलब किस हिसाब से डिसाइड हो रही है, किन लोगों को बेनिफिट हो रहा है, उससे क्या बेनिफिट हो रहा है, क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस होंगे उसके एक्चुअल, आई डोंट नो, ये पूरा हिडन रहता है, राइट? एंड इट काइंड ऑफ मेक्स मी अनकंफर्टेबल, दैट होल आइडिया कि आई डोंट नो हाउ आई एम कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टू माय कस्टमर एंड टू माई सेल्फ by
I
doing this work.
I agree with you on that. Like food holds this very special space. Like it's something that I feel that it's very difficult to for food as a culture to die out. And like we are afraid of art, if just if you have writing वगैरह that might die out because of this AI thing. But food is so immediate in nature and everybody understands food
Yeah.
if with great nuance. They understand that like you don't compare food. Like art is the same. I say art is the same. Food can be bad, but most of the time, if you're eating at a decent place, it isn't bad. It's just different. It's its own thing. And food is one of those things that is immediate enough. You can make food with machines, and we do make food with machines. Whoa. But people understand food enough to give a fuck about people making food. And because you're जैसा कि तूने बोला, you can, there's this immediate connection to making somebody making food वहीं पर and you receiving it. That is a very valuable experience that people understand.
Yeah. And I think अगर मैं कोई कभी बिजनेस करूंगा भी, that is what I will go with, just how simple and direct and immediate it is. Okay, I don't have to be a mastermind. Of course, creating a business, that would be a whole another skill set, right? I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that, but like I can at least be confident about my product, right? Ki the thing I'm doing is
I mean,
leaving
if you're
someone.
going
Like
to
I,
like at this point, if you're going to start do anything with food, you can be rest assured that you would be the business. Like you are the guy just with the vision and the business stuff. You're not going to be the one designing the product.
uh,
I mean, you'll probably guide it, but तो भाई दुखी क्यों हो गया मेरे ये बोलने पे? I didn't mean it as that.
maybe I should go into cooking. I'm starting to consider.
I was
But
actually
actually,
thinking a few days ago how,
uh,
like, I don't like achar. Do you like achar?
I think it's fine. I don't hate it.
But there's such variety of it. I don't. But and I would like to acquire taste for achar. It's one of those things. And
Mm,
because as a kid I didn't like acidic stuff, and achar is very acidic. Uh, and I was wondering, thinking about it, and I was thinking that it would be really nice to have uh, a char plate, like with a bunch of achar samples, like you have cheese plates, right? That's
you know where I think achar shines the most? I wouldn't eat achar on a regular basis, but I think achar makes a really bad meal good. कि कोई बहुत ब्लैंड सा दाल चावल है तेरे पास और कोई कोई ब्लैंड सा लंच है तेरे पास, it can amplify, not amplify but make it better.
I mean, that's condiments
Just
for you.
uh, I felt that in college कि college का we got really bad food in college, right? And
Hmm.
there was this guy who once brought a jar of pickle, मतलब अचार ही लेके आया अपने घर से, and just having that achar along with our food made it so much better. Not because achar was good, that like that achar was just a very normal achar, but just having that along with bad food made it so much more bearable.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah. So
Next
in that
episode,
aspect,
huh?
bol
Next
bol.
episode, Uddu is gonna pitch a business idea.
Uh, I don't see myself working for years in a environment like TCS or any other corporate job. I think I even you do you remember कि जब हम high school में थे तब भी we used to fantasize कि हाँ, initially I would have to earn money but slowly we'll move into some business or something over
I
time.
find, yeah, yeah, it's all honestly difficult for me to imagine working in an environment like that too. I,
Yeah, I
like,
think it's inevitable that I will move it into business or something similar.
yeah, like because yeah, I don't think that an environment like looking at how I even feel about school and education in general, like when I feel how I feel in that context and the corporate world, obviously you know better. It feels worse, and
And like the main thing which demoralizes me is that I have to feel good about what I'm doing, not just in monetary sense. I have to earn more. I should feel like I am contributing something to someone, something valuable to someone. That's why I like the idea of food that much, right? Because you're making some person who is eating your food happy, right? So it's a direct contribution in that sense.
yeah,
If you like, if you are able to provide with good food,
mm,
you're making him happy. But
yeah,
when I'm writing code, I don't feel that motivation that okay, what the code I am writing is going to. Uh, you get that? What I'm saying, right? I should feel that motivation that I'm not only giving a monetary value, but also some kind of actual value to someone,
like
something important to
I
someone.
feel that it's at this age the feeling of uh, giving something to the society is very underrated. I think it's something that people start valuing more as they get older. Uh, it's a good feeling to feel altruistic, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's exactly what makes that whole place so gloomy and mechanical, because people don't feel that they are actually contributing anything to anyone. They are just bringing money to the company. That's all they're doing, and like getting some paychecks over time for it. So it's not particularly motivating.
कोई बात नहीं हो तो
You think corporates will, like in an ideal world, corporates will vanish just because like they're because of the fundamental nature.
Uh, what do you mean by an ideal world? Communist world?
I don't know what ideal like a world which is designed for human happiness taken as priority is what I'm trying to say. Like for everyone. I mean, these kinds of work should be automated, and people should only do stuff which are uh, which they
That's
enjoy
actually the next
contributing to.
thing. That seems to be the next thing Elon Musk is seems to be selling to people right now with the whole AI and thing, which is like in the future people won't have to work because AI will do the work.
I mean,
This
but there's a
is
problem.
that just seems like such a scammy scheme.
It is scammy because first you have to make people not required to work, then you take up the jobs with AI, not the other way around, right?
that,
You don't take
that
out.
is that is a good way to put it. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Anyways. Hmm.
I'm excited for your business pitch in the next episode. I think I'll be in India by then.
Oh, when are you coming?
22nd.
Oh, in about less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Huh. Let's go out somewhere.
अभी पहले I'll be in Bangalore. Sorry, Bangalore नहीं. Gwalior for like 4 or 5 days or something. फिर मैं इंदौर आऊँगा.
Okay, okay.
Let's go on a picnic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. अचार खाएंगे.
चाइनीज खिलाऊंगा मैं तेरे को.
तो भाई. Yes, it is something I've been fantasizing about abhi. I'll go on a
है
picnic
ना?
with friends and fuck off, not your Chinese. Picnic पे जाऊंगा and we'll do a potluck with friends. It will be so much fun. Okay,
Okay then.
let's end the
Let's
pod.
end the podcast.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.